Hello, greetings. Thanks for being here today. Today I want to give you a tip, something that I do continually that I think helps with my spiritual journey, and it helps to keep me on track. And that is every time I see a quote or a scripture, something in a book, or I hear something online that I want to remember, I immediately write it down. So I keep by my side a little notebook. It's usually handy, and I'll write things down. And if I happen to be having a conversation with someone else, and we come up with a topic or something I want to look at later, I'll ask for a piece of paper, or they might even write it down and give it to me. The second thing is I keep small notebooks for different topics, and I want to have a lot of topics, a lot of quotes about one particular thing, something I'm researching it. I'll put it all in one small book. This one, for example, is Sacred Scripture, Me on His Spirit, and it's just full of pages of information about that topic. So when I'm looking for a quote about the spirituality of humans, I've got a whole bunch of them to choose from. I've got binders about different factions of spirituality, different topics for study, a whole binder about angels, and just anything that comes to me on the spiritual path, I like to convert it into writing. Now, there's a scripture that says, for those who are practicing spirituality, it's in the New Testament. It's a quote from Jesus, I believe, who said, "Out of your belly will flow rivers of living water." If that's not a quote of Jesus, if that's Paul, please don't hesitate to correct me in the comments. And living water is a reference to moving water. In the Jewish faith, at the time that the Old Testament was written, they believed that living water was water that was flowing, a river or a spring. That's why we see John the Baptist baptizing people in the Jordan River. That was living water. And so out of our belly will flow streams of living water. And that's a reference to the ideas and the thoughts of spirit. And when I get one of these ideas or thoughts, something strikes me, I don't want to lose it. And I spend a lot of time reading and studying, and so there's no way I could remember all these things that pique my attention, so I write them down. Now, I have a quote from Brother Lawrence, who said, whom God finds a soul, so when God finds a soul penetrated with a lively faith, He pours into it His graces and favors plentifully. There they flow like a torrent. So here he is reiterating the same idea, that when we have lively faith and our soul or our spirit, let's say, is open to the Spirit, to the gifts of God, to the grace of God, they flow like a torrent. Yet, we often stop this torrent by the little value we set upon it. Let us stop it no more. Let us enter into ourselves and break down the bank that hinders us, or that hinders it. Let us make way for grace. So even though this living water flows into us, flows through us, we can stop it, he says, by putting a little value on it. In other words, if we don't pay attention to the thoughts and ideas that we're receiving from the Divine One, if we just get up from our prayer time or our meditation or our study and we've had a great thought, but we just let it pass, we don't act upon it, we don't assimilate it, in my case, we don't write it down, we block the flow. I suppose you could say there's a backlog of ideas and thoughts, and we're not letting them flow through us. I saw recently in the writings of Mary Baker Eddy, who was the founder of Christian Science, a different image of the same thing. She said that the life of God, the Spirit flowing into us, is like the sunlight flowing through a window, through glass, and that it doesn't flow through the walls because the glass is clearer, it is for sunlight, I'm going to use the term more porous, the sunlight can more easily flow through, even though it in no way harms the glass, it flows through it. And she mentioned that if we wash the window, the purer the glass of the window, the more sunlight flows through. That's the same thing in this quote from Brother Lawrence, that we need to pay attention to what's flowing through us, to open ourselves, to look within and see the gifts and the graces that the Divine One is putting within us, especially in our times of silence, sacred silence, making space in our life for grace. That's a great option, and it's available to every single one of us every day. So I'm encouraging you today to make time, make space, make quiet, and possibly have a notebook and pen handy to jot down these wonderful graces that you receive. Track them, pay attention to them, utilize them in our lives. Well, that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining with me again, and I'll see you soon. In the meantime, please stay safe and well. Be blessed.